Hey guys, Duos here. Welcome back to the build series, swapping the center console for a jump seat and the column shifter. In this video I'm going to be putting the center seat in as well as wiring it up. Now because mine's a 2009 and the seat's from a 2018, somewhere along the line, I don't know if it was 11 or 12, Chrysler changed the radio and some of the wiring, so the USB port's a little bit different and the wiring's a little different. So I had to get a Maestro box to swap out for the USB box that's in there. And then I had to run some custom wiring as well. If your seat is out of the same year or a similar half generation of truck, you shouldn't have these issues that I'm having.
I'm really glad I took a picture of the junkyard when I first got the brackets. I definitely don't need these. These are for the console. So instead of getting myself on them all the time, I'm just going to quickly take it out. And these bolts as well might have something to do with the center bracket, but I'm not sure. I'll take a look in a little bit. So since there's no more rear vent right now, unless I get some clever way to lift the carpet or do something, I've just put duct tape over this lower vent, put a bunch of layers just to try and keep air from, well, air conditioning or heating behind the cup holder, and then keep pressure up to come out the rest of the vents. I think I figured out what that white prong was. I think it was the 12 volt for over there. And then I'm going to see if there's another harness back here, because there is a 12 volt here and a 12 volt here. One's off a key and the other one is off battery, or ignition and battery. So we'll see how that works. The other question is see how this harness hooks back up when the seat is here. I think there's USB and power. Yeah, there is inside the lid. So there's going to be a harness for that as well. But for the moment, I'm going to try and get the passenger seat back in, and we'll go from there. Pretty roomy in here. Passenger seat is back in. Got the fascia on. I've got the harness hooked back up under there. And then I've also got all the tools wrapped around and Velcroed to the jack, which is then hooked onto that bottom hook. Make sure you tighten the seat belt before you put it on the seat. It's probably pretty obvious, but there's a large Torx bit there that needs to go on. Let me see what size it was. T50. T50. So I'm going to go get the driver's seat and we'll get that in. This can actually just get plugged in here. Got the seat up, and then these other two, once the seat lowers a little bit, can get hooked down there. Power seat functions work. Now it's going to take me a little while to figure out where the seat was, get comfortable again. Now I'm going to go get the other brackets. There's a bracket that's going to go here and a bracket that goes here for the seat. Put the brackets on temporarily. These are going to have to go on the seat first because of the way they line up, and then they'll bolt in there. And then there's a little bit of leeway on these guys, and they'll get bolts as well. But so far so good. Next up, I'm going to hook up some of the controls. So the upholster killed it with the seat. We couldn't find the tan to match. They didn't make the exact one anymore. The texture was different, so we just went all brown with a French seam, I think that's what he called it, and then a tan stitching. And this was his idea to kind of put the stripe down the middle. He wanted to do tan, but I wanted to keep it all brown, keep it simple, and I think the all brown looks awesome. It's very close to the truck interior, and I think it'll contrast nicely with the seats next to it. So we did the whole thing, and I got the brown. I think the brown and the black look good. It's got the ports on the inside, the coin change, the coin change, and then opens up nice. And this is vinyl, but it's kind of nice. I don't mind it. I didn't want to get the leather. It was a little bit more. It wasn't too much more, but I didn't think it was really necessary. I thought the vinyl feels fine for what it is and wears a little better. And then we'll see how these hook up, if they hook up directly. If not, we'll be doing some pin-out testing. So I'm going to loosen this guy up and this guy up to make a little room, as this guy's got a little a little leeway, but this is pretty exact, so I want to make sure this rotates okay. So Christ is pretty funny. I guess it makes sense. I'm like, well, which one's the USB? And I'm looking at them. Nope. Look right in there. You got a little USB. Is that type A? It's not focusing. Got a USB port right in there. So I think what I'm going to do is actually going to get an extension and then run it under the carpet. And then there's a USB lead for my head unit. So I'll connect that there. The other issue is I don't know what this one wire is for. Maybe it's some sort of open close connection. Maybe there's an aux in there. That might be, maybe it's aux in. I gotta look in there. And then I could run that one too. And then this guy must be all the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I don't know what this guy is, but that's already being used up by this other harness that's in here. So we'll do a little plug and play and figure this out. And because I know how much everybody loves this part. Oh, we got some more on this on the chrome. Oh, this one's sticky. A little piece stuck over here. These are all 13 mil, and obviously you can use a wrench on those, but you're going to want a ratcheting wrench for the guys underneath. And if you can do the ones underneath first, maybe before you put all the seats in, if you put all the seats in at once, it might be a little bit easier, but you can still do it from here. You just need one of these to get underneath there. So there it is. Let's see, opens up fine. And then that's it. Flipped up. Very cool. Obviously kind of ugly flipped up, but it'll do the trick. So this can plug into there, and then this can route into the aux plug for the head unit. There's actually, I ran an extension down here. And then I can see if this is actually, if this is just power or if this has data on it as well. Oh, it's Canon, so it's for my camera, so it probably does have data on it. So I can run that and see if that works, and then see if both ports get power. And if they don't, then I know that one of these other guys is carrying the power for the other port. Alright, as you can see, I took apart the cup holder. Back to black is still looking great. I got this USB extension that runs to the back of the head unit. It's got this hot glue residue on it because in my old car, I had it kind of, there was a hidden port and I had it up there and the hot glue held it in, but you don't see it. And then got the extension running to this wire, which is just temporarily right here. I'll route it nice later. And then goes into these USB ports here. Slow peel. There we go. So now I'm going to do a little bit of testing with these ports and see if either of them have power. Well, neither of them are showing power right now. Neither port is giving power right now. So I was doing the wiring diagram, and the aux cable is fine. I got ground, became the green with blue stripe. The red, or the right channel, is the green solid, and the left channel is the green with the orange stripe. But when I was trying to do the USB port, which is just the powered one, it's also on this one, it's not on this one, I started getting all these, every value was coming through on these two channels over here. So it's like, I don't understand why ground and power and data would all come through on those same two. I mean, obviously they're gonna do the same, but you figure one, at least two positive would be positive and two negative would be negative. So I don't want to fry this thing because it's actually a circuit board. It's not like just straight pass-throughs. So the board for the Maestro is already installed, but this is the board that came out of mine. So it's got two USB ports and an aux port, and then it's got a USB connector, and then the special adapter, wiring adapter.
The issue is that it's got a little chip on the inside that does some digital routing. It's not just a straight port pass through. See, obviously this is a little computer to interface, I guess, with the CAN system, because this pinout was all off. Two of the pins are all ground. All the leads are going somewhere, and I couldn't trace out the others. So the circuitry was definitely handling the rest of it. But the board that goes in is very similar to this, except it had different pins, and it wasn't as complicated. It was more of a straight wired connection than handling with microchip. And this is the package for the URAM media USB adapter kit. Basically, all you do is take the USB cable, plug it into the head unit, and plug it into the back of the media board, and you've got USB and aux port. Now this one only has one USB, and my truck had two USB ports, so I actually had a USB splitter lying around that I wired up in the back. Alright, so let's take a look inside. As you can see, seats in, center console, or the new dash console. The mother's back to black is holding up real nice. Opens up, I've got some stuff in there, but I've got the custom Maestro box in there. I got a USB stick in here with some really old music on it that I had ripped. So you see I wired it up with some LEDs so it'd be red. Also it flips up. And got the seatbelt. A little messy, but you get the point. This is actually a gray belt. They didn't have, at least I couldn't find a brown belt. And for the junkyard price, gray is fine for me. Never really see it anyway. This is down most of the time. So you can see I've got both power outlets wired up. I've got this one set up with a USB adapter, and then behind here got a USB extension for my head unit. I also needed the Maestro unit because I'm using a Pioneer head unit. I'm not using the factory MyLink. But I've got a USB extension and the auxiliary cable extension actually routed under the carpet. So basically I had the wiring come up underneath and then into this leg, and then the front of the console comes off. The wiring comes up this part, the console, this snaps off, and then also this whole thing snaps off here. I'm not going to do it because I got to tuck in the lining again. I'm not really doing that right now. The wiring comes in here. It's just right under here. It's just foam and metal and plastic on the inside. This cup holder will pop out, and you have access to the back side of the ports. And I just rewired and added some LEDs in there. So overall, so far the project's been well worth it. I definitely like having the column shifter. It just feels more truck-like than a car. At least with the type of shifter it used to be. I think the new ones are all the rotary shifter. I like having the extra room, and then because we've got 4 kids, it's nice to have the jump seat in case we ever need it. Usually they're riding in the Tahoe, but just as a backup, or if we want to take a trip or something, this truck's got a little less miles. But overall, it was pretty straightforward to do once I actually figured out all the steps. I hope this video will help you out. Sourcing the parts, you definitely want to try going to a junkyard or secondhand or Craigslist. If you buy these things retail, you're going to be spending way more than you should. It didn't take too long to do an actual labor. It just took more time to actually find the parts and then find the time to video and edit it all together. But it really shouldn't take too long, and hopefully this video will help you do it even faster. Plus, I had a complication of an aftermarket head unit and having to swap over the Maestro board. Yours should just be straight plug and play. But other than that, it was pretty straightforward. Just a bunch of panels, some bolts, a couple brackets, and it was good to go. So thanks for watching. I hope this helped. Maybe to make it a little bit easier for you to swap either from a center console to a jump seat like I did, or which seems to be more common, going from a jump seat to the center console. So you can just watch these in reverse. But please like, favorite, subscribe, all that good stuff. Comment if you've done this before, if you have any questions, and I'll try and get back to you. But may God bless you, and keep standing up for what's right.